The scorching Las Vegas sun beat down mercilessly on the asphalt as traffic crawled through the intersection of Flamingo Road and Paradise. It was just another typical Tuesday afternoon in Sin City, where dreams and desperation often walked hand in hand. Among the sea of vehicles sat a black SUV with tinted windows, its air conditioning working overtime against the 105-degree heat. Inside, Ronda Rousey adjusted her sunglasses and glanced at her phone. She was running late for a meeting with her management team, but the traffic had other plans. As a former UFC bantamweight champion and current WWE superstar, her schedule was always packed, but today felt particularly overwhelming. The weight of constant public scrutiny, training demands, and business obligations pressed down on her shoulders like an invisible burden. As she waited for the light to change, something caught her eye that made her heart skip a beat. Weaving between the stopped cars was a small figure that seemed completely out of place in this adult world of honking horns and impatient drivers. A young girl, no more than 10 years old, carried a red cooler that looked almost as big as she was. But what truly stopped Ronda cold was what the child was wearing. The girl's oversized UFC t-shirt hung loosely on her tiny frame, the familiar octagon logo clearly visible even from a distance. The shirt was faded and worn, obviously well-loved, and it swayed with each determined step the child took. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and despite the oppressive heat, she moved with purpose and surprising confidence for someone so young. Ronda watched in fascination as the girl approached car after car, holding up plastic water bottles with a bright smile that could have powered the entire Las Vegas Strip. Most drivers barely acknowledged her presence. Some rolled up their windows tighter, and others simply looked away. But the girl's spirit remained unbroken. She continued her routine with the persistence of a seasoned professional, her small voice calling out offers that were mostly met with indifference. The former champion found herself leaning forward in her seat, studying this remarkable child more closely. There was something about the girl's demeanor that reminded Ronda of herself at that age, a fierce determination that refused to be discouraged by rejection or adversity. The way she carried herself, despite her obvious youth and the challenging circumstances, spoke of an inner strength that was both inspiring and heartbreaking. As the traffic light cycled through its colors once again, Ronda made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She rolled down her window and gestured for the girl to approach. The child's face lit up with genuine excitement as she hurried over, her cooler bouncing slightly with each step. "Hi there," Ronda said, her voice gentle but curious. "I love your shirt. Are you a UFC fan?" The girl's eyes widened with recognition, though she tried to maintain her composure. "Oh my gosh, you're Ronda Rousey. I can't believe it. Yes, I love UFC. I watch every fight I can. You're like my hero." Her words tumbled out in an excited rush, but then she seemed to remember why she was there. "Would you like to buy some water? It's really cold and it's only $2. Ronda smiled, reaching for her wallet. "I'll take 3 bottles, but first tell me your name." "I'm Maya," the girl replied, carefully counting out 3 bottles from her cooler. "Maya Rodriguez. I come here every day after school and on weekends. My mom works 2 jobs, and this helps us with groceries and stuff." The honesty in Maya's voice hit Ronda like a physical blow. Here was a child, barely old enough to be in elementary school, taking on adult responsibilities with the maturity that most grown-ups would struggle to match. The fact that she was doing it while wearing UFC merchandise made the moment even more poignant. "Maya, that's a beautiful name," Ronda said, handing over a $20 bill. "Keep the change. But I have to ask, how long have you been doing this?" Maya's face showed surprise at the generous payment, but she quickly composed herself. "About 6 months now. Ever since my dad got hurt at his construction job and couldn't work anymore. Mom says we have to be strong and help each other, just like fighters in the octagon." The parallel Maya drew between her family's struggles and the fighting spirit Ronda knew so well created an immediate connection. This wasn't just a chance encounter, it felt like destiny. Ronda had spent years inspiring people through her athletic achievements, but here was someone who was already living the values she tried to promote: courage, determination, and never giving up in the face of adversity. You know what, Maya? You're absolutely right. Family is like a team, and every team member has to contribute. Ronda paused, studying the girl's earnest expression. But tell me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Without hesitation, Maya's face brightened. I want to be a fighter, just like you. I want to show other girls that they can be strong and brave. I practice moves I see on TV in my backyard, and I pretend I'm in the octagon, defending my championship belt. The image of this tiny girl shadow boxing in her backyard, dreaming of greatness while shouldering adult responsibilities, created a lump in Ronda's throat. She had met thousands of fans over the years, but none had affected her quite like this. Maya wasn't just a fan, she was a kindred spirit, someone who understood that true strength came from facing life's challenges head-on. That's an amazing dream, Maya. And you know what? I think you already are a fighter. What you're doing out here, helping your family, never giving up, that takes more courage than stepping into any octagon. Maya beamed at the compliment, but then her expression grew more serious. Sometimes it's really hard, though. Some people are mean, and they say things that hurt. But I remember watching your fights, and how you never gave up, even when things looked impossible. That helps me keep going. Ronda felt her heart swell with a mixture of pride and responsibility. She had always known that her career had inspired people, but hearing it directly from someone so young and facing such real challenges put everything into perspective. This wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about the ripple effect of courage and determination. The traffic light changed again, and cars behind Ronda began to honk impatiently. But she ignored them completely, her focus entirely on this remarkable young girl who had just reminded her why she had fallen in love with fighting in the first place. It wasn't about the glory or the championships, it was about proving that ordinary people could do extraordinary things when they refused to give up. Maya, I want you to know something, Ronda said, leaning closer to the window. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. And I've met a lot of strong people. What you're doing for your family, the way you're handling everything, that's championship-level heart right there. The girl's eyes filled with tears of joy and pride. For a moment, the busy intersection faded away, and it was just two fighters recognizing each other across the years and circumstances that separated them. In that instant, Ronda made a decision that would prove to be one of the most important of her life. Maya, I want to help you and your family. But more than that, I want to help you chase that dream of yours. Would you like that? Maya nodded so enthusiastically that her ponytail bounced. Really? You would do that? But why? You don't even know me. Because, Ronda replied with a smile that came from the deepest part of her heart, champions help other champions, and you, Maya Rodriguez, are already a champion in my book. The honking behind them grew more insistent, but neither Ronda nor Maya seemed to notice. They were too busy planning what would become one of the most heartwarming stories in sports history, a tale that would remind the world that true strength isn't measured in victories or defeats, but in the courage to keep fighting when everything seems impossible. As Ronda prepared to pull over to continue their conversation properly, she couldn't help but think that sometimes the most important moments in life happen when you least expect them. She had come to this intersection thinking about meetings and schedules, but she was leaving with something far more valuable, a reminder of why her platform mattered, and a new mission that would define the next chapter of her life. Maya clutched her $20 bill and watched in amazement as the famous fighter she had admired from afar became a real person who cared about her dreams and struggles. In her young mind, she couldn't fully comprehend how this moment would change everything, but she knew that something magical was happening. The SUV pulled into a nearby parking lot, and Maya followed, her cooler of water bottles suddenly feeling lighter than air. Neither of them knew it yet, but this chance encounter would soon capture the attention of millions, inspiring countless others and proving that heroes aren't just found in octagons or wrestling rings. Sometimes they're found selling water at traffic lights, wearing oversized UFC shirts, and carrying dreams bigger than themselves. The parking lot of a small strip mall provided the perfect sanctuary for what would become an hour-long conversation that neither Ronda nor Maya would ever forget. As they sat on a concrete barrier in the shade, sharing the cold water that Maya had been selling just minutes before, the former champion learned more about this extraordinary child's life. Maya's story unfolded like chapters in a book about resilience. Her father, Carlos, had been the primary breadwinner until a scaffolding accident left him with chronic back pain and unable to perform the physical labor that had supported their family for years. Her mother, Isabella, worked as a hotel housekeeper during the day and cleaned office buildings at night, often returning home after Maya was already asleep. "Mom tries to hide it, but I know she's tired all the time," Maya explained, her mature understanding of adult struggles both impressive and heartbreaking. "She thinks I don't notice when she skips meals so there's enough food for me and Dad, but I do. That's why I started selling water. Every little bit helps." Ronda listened intently, recognizing in Maya's words the same determination that had driven her own rise to championship status. But while Ronda's battles had been fought in training rooms and arenas, Maya's were being waged in the real world, against poverty and uncertainty, with stakes that were far more personal and immediate. "You know, Maya, when I was training for my biggest fights, my mom used to tell me that the strongest people aren't those who never fall down, but those who get back up every single time," Ronda shared. "Your family is getting back up every day, and that makes you all champions in my book." Maya's eyes sparkled with understanding. "Is that why you never gave up in your fights, even when people said you couldn't win?" "Exactly. And it's why you're out here every day, even when people ignore you or say mean things. You're fighting for something bigger than yourself, your family. That's the most important fight there is." As their conversation deepened, Ronda began to see the full picture of Maya's daily routine. The girl woke up at 5:30 each morning to help prepare breakfast before school, attended classes where she maintained excellent grades despite her home situation, and then spent her afternoons and weekends at various intersections throughout Las Vegas, selling water to help make ends meet. "I've learned which corners are the best," Maya explained with the expertise of a seasoned entrepreneur. "Some places, people are nicer. Others, they're in too much of a hurry. But I never give up because you taught me that giving up isn't an option." The weight of that responsibility, knowing that her example had influenced this young girl's approach to life's challenges, filled Ronda with both pride and a deep sense of purpose. She realized that her greatest victory might not have been in any octagon, but in inspiring someone like Maya to keep fighting when the odds seemed impossible. "Maya, I want to meet your parents," Ronda said suddenly. "Would that be okay with you?" The girl's face lit up with excitement mixed with nervousness. "Really? You want to meet them? They're not going to believe this. Mom always says that good things happen to good people, but I never thought something this amazing would happen to us." Ronda pulled out her phone and began making calls. First to her assistant, canceling the rest of her appointments for the day. Then to her publicist, asking them to clear her schedule for the remainder of the week. Whatever was about to happen, she wanted to make sure she could give it her full attention. "Maya, Can you call your mum and ask if it's okay for me to come visit? I want to talk to your family about some ideas I have." With trembling fingers, Maya dialed her mother's number. The conversation that followed was a mixture of Spanish and English, with Maya's voice growing more excited with each passing moment. When she finally hung up, tears of joy were streaming down her face. "She said yes. She's leaving work early and Dad is cleaning the house right now. They can't believe that Ronda Rousey wants to visit us." Mum started crying on the phone. The drive to Maya's neighborhood took them through parts of Las Vegas that tourists never see, areas where the glittering lights of the Strip feel like they belong to another world entirely. The houses were small and modest, but well-maintained, speaking to the pride that families like Maya's took in their homes despite their financial struggles. Maya's house was a tiny two-bedroom structure with a small front yard where someone had attempted to grow vegetables in the desert climate. As Ronda's SUV pulled into the driveway, she could see faces peering through the windows, neighbors who had heard that something extraordinary was happening on their quiet street. Carlos Rodriguez met them at the door, his weathered hands shaking slightly as he extended one to Ronda. Despite his obvious pain and the challenges his family faced, his eyes held the same determined spark that Ronda had recognized in his daughter. "Miss Rousey, I cannot believe you are here," he said, his English heavily accented but clear. "Maya, she talks about you every day. You are her inspiration to be strong." Isabella appeared behind her husband, still wearing her hotel uniform, her eyes red from the tears she had shed upon hearing about her daughter's incredible encounter. "Thank you for being kind to our Maya," she said simply. "She is a good girl, and she works so hard." As they sat in the family's small living room, surrounded by photos of Maya at various school events and a few pieces of UFC memorabilia that had clearly been saved for with great care, Ronda began to outline her plan. She had been thinking during the drive, and what she proposed would change everything for the Rodriguez family. "I want to start a scholarship program," Ronda announced, "not just for Maya, but for other kids like her, children who are facing tough circumstances but refuse to give up. Maya will be the first recipient, and her story will help us find others who need support." The room fell silent as the family processed what they were hearing. Carlos reached for his wife's hand, and Isabella covered her mouth in shock. Maya looked back and forth between her parents and Ronda, not quite believing that her life was about to change so dramatically. "But there's more," Ronda continued. "Maya, you told me you want to be a fighter. I want to help you train properly. I know some of the best coaches in the world. And when you're old enough, if you still want to pursue that dream, we'll make sure you have every opportunity to succeed." Maya burst into tears, but they were tears of pure joy. "You really mean it? You'll help me learn to fight for real?" "I mean it completely. But remember, you're already a fighter. What we'll be doing is just teaching you new skills to add to the strength you already have." Isabella spoke up, her voice thick with emotion. "Miss Rousey, we cannot pay you back for this kindness. We have nothing to give you." Ronda smiled, thinking of all the championship belts and accolades she had accumulated over the years, and how none of them had ever made her feel as fulfilled as this moment. "You're giving me something more valuable than money could ever buy. You're giving me the chance to help someone who reminds me why I fell in love with fighting in the first place. Maya's courage and determination. That's a gift to me." As the afternoon turned to evening, Ronda found herself staying for dinner, sharing a simple meal that tasted better than any expensive restaurant food she had ever eaten. The conversation flowed easily, with Maya translating when her parents' English faltered, and Ronda sharing stories from her career that had the whole family laughing and gasping in amazement. When it was finally time to leave, Ronda made one final promise. "Maya, I want you to keep selling water for now, but not because your family needs the money. I want you to keep doing it because it's teaching you valuable lessons about perseverance and connecting with people. But from now on, you won't be doing it alone." True to her word, Ronda returned the next day with a camera crew. She had convinced a major sports network to document Maya's story, turning the young girl's daily routine into a powerful message about determination and the importance of never giving up on your dreams. The resulting documentary, which aired several months later, became one of the most watched sports stories of the year. Maya's infectious smile and unwavering determination captured hearts around the world, and the scholarship program that Ronda established in her honor received donations from thousands of people who were inspired by the young girl's story. But perhaps the most powerful moment came at the end of the documentary, when Maya, now training at a proper martial arts facility with some of the best coaches in Las Vegas, looked directly into the camera and delivered a message that would be shared millions of times across social media. "If you're going through something hard right now, don't give up," she said, her young voice carrying the wisdom of someone who had faced real adversity and emerged stronger. "Sometimes help comes from places you never expect, but you have to keep fighting until it arrives. And remember, being strong isn't about never being scared or never struggling. Being strong is about getting up every day and doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard." As the documentary concluded, viewers learned that the Rodriguez family had been able to move to a larger home, that Carlos had received the medical treatment he needed for his back injury, and that Isabella had been able to reduce her work schedule to spend more time with her family. But most importantly, Maya continued to train, her dreams of becoming a professional fighter now supported by a team of people who believed in her potential. The story of a chance encounter at a Las Vegas traffic light had become something much larger, a reminder that heroes come in all sizes, that champions are made not just in gyms and arenas, but in the everyday struggles of ordinary people, and that sometimes the most powerful victories are won not through defeating opponents, but through lifting others up. Maya Rodriguez, the 10-year-old girl in the oversized UFC shirt who'd been selling water to help her family survive, had become a symbol of hope for millions of people around the world. And Ronda Rousey, the former champion who had stopped to buy water on a hot Tuesday afternoon, had discovered that her greatest legacy wouldn't be measured in fights won or titles held, but in the life of one remarkable young girl whose courage had reminded her of the true meaning of strength. Hey, my friends, help me by subscribing to the channel so we can reach 1,000 subscribers, even if you're watching from your TV or computer. Your subscription makes all the difference, and the algorithm will help you see more amazing stories. Leave a like or an emoji in the comments and be part of this growth.